Shalom, Israel, Grand Rising. Just getting my morning started here. I'm running actually late today because I got a late pickup. I usually like to start between 2 and 4 a.m., late at 6, so I can get my day out the way. Just want to share with y'all. There's been some prophetic things going on. I want to reiterate, like I said in the past, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher. I'm simply sharing. And for understanding, we as a people, being the people of Deuteronomy, all 12 tribes. That book is not about religion. Religion is man-made. That book is about a God, one God, His power, and His people, which is the original testament, which they call the Old Testament, the Torah, which is the only book that we have. I've had some people make statements and ask me pertaining to the children of Israel, you know, about the curses. And they're not understanding. The curses have a broad understanding, and they vary from how they were distributed. The southern tribe, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, so-called Negroes, are the ones who endured the slave ships. The northern tribe was colonialized. The native Indians, the tribe of Gad, he said in scriptures he would send a cavalry to destroy them. And I say that because this brother, I think his name's CC, or it might have been a female, I don't know, I just seen the name CC in the comments. Say, I'd like to know how Mexicans went on slave ships. And that's what I'm saying. When he said he'd send a cavalry to destroy Israel, we weren't destroyed by a cavalry. So who else fits those attributes or that understanding? Nevertheless, a lot of us have the mind state of what we've been introduced and understood through camps. And that even says a lot about when people say, if you believe in the 12 tribes pertaining to a chart, that it came from camp doctrine, etc. And this is, again, showing you the level of how lost we are in understanding, because no man has all truth, but to understand Everybody that came forth, even these camps, have a remnant of truth that they bring. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Of course, we know anything related to a Savior other than the Most High, that's where they go off. Saying that and letting you understand, regardless if you get it or not, you understanding who your brothers are or not, that is not going to keep you from getting out of the kingdom. Know how these scriptures and God's power pertain to you and what you went through. Now let me fast forward to current affairs. If any of you watching this don't get it, that this is not about religion, but it's about a God, His power, and His people, and you're not understanding at this point, I just got out the shower. See, I'm kind of ashy. It's all leading up to what's going on right now. This is a testament of His power and of the heathens He put over us evil. So if the scriptures ain't did it for you, for understanding what's going on and what you've witnessed in this kingdom, because there's a kingdom to come, and you ignored the Most High power and His understanding and His punishment, and you're looking for something to salvage this kingdom, the same way He destroyed Pharaoh, splitting of the Red Sea, and flooded the earth with Noah escaping with the 3 sons of Noah. He's doing it all again. And because of people stuck in this world and can only understand what's going on around them because we've been so baptized in this bullshit, you can't see the big picture of the kingdom to come. So that's what this application is for the Most High's power and understanding it. You must apply for the kingdom to come to get out of the way, to be saved. There's no Jesus. That's in the New Testament. Jesus hasn't created to save nothing. That's what they gave you to keep you catfishing and about to get Jim Jones with what they're giving you in the food, the water, and the air, and currently their vaccines. So I'm gonna play something for y'all. Like I said, if the scriptures didn't do it, and what you witnessing didn't do it, it's as good as it gets for you. Now, I'm gonna share something. Y'all know I'm always getting blocked and banned from Facebook because they want to try to say anything I share go against the CDC guidelines. Using common sense go against the CDC guidelines. So then there's people out there of this world supporting their own death that say words like, here you go with a conspiracy theory, like I said before. Conspiracy theory can be a bad word, but when you involved with a criminal enterprise and get charged with a conspiracy, nobody says it's a bad word in your defense to say these charges hit stick. So let me get into this and show this to y'all. Like I said, the scriptures didn't do it. I don't know. Well, basically I do know. This is your kingdom.
Of Spanish researchers called La Quinta Columna, originally broken here on the Stu Peters Show by Dr. Jane Ruby. That video revealing that graphene oxide, a toxic substance, a poison, was found in the Pfizer vaccines. Those researchers later found that the same applied to Moderna, and AstraZeneca is now being tested as a result of our reporting. The truth is here. USA Today lead stories, all funded by the cabal, were all over me, all over Dr. Jane Ruby, and out calling us liars for reporting those findings to the world in a video that has now soared over, well, I think about 1 million views on Rumble. We have sought the input of many medical experts, world-renowned doctors, Dr. Jane Ruby, Dr. Tenpenny, Dr. Judy Mikovits, Dr. David Martin. They have all confirmed that report. But despite all of that confirmation, the assaults on our truth continue. On Twitter, you may have been recently following the hashtag Pfizer leak. We want to know what's in them. We want to know if it was pre-planned, who's behind all of it. We want to know what to believe, so today we're going to get the confirmation that we need. It's hard to fact-check documents. It's hard to fact-check publicly discoverable proprietary ingredients. It's hard to fact-check Karen Kingston. She is a former Pfizer employee, currently an analyst for the pharmaceutical and medical device industries. Karen, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your bravery. We admire your desire to expose the truth behind what appears to be, to me at least, one of the most, if not the most evil agenda mankind has ever been subject to.
Well, thank you for giving me a platform to share my findings and to spread the truth. And you're right, it is extremely difficult to find this information and link it together. I do have a unique set of skills. This is what I do in the industry. I analyze intellectual property, the legal landscape for both physicians, pharma, and consumers. And then I'm also a scientific writer and do the clinical analysis as well. So you can't expect everyone to have that skill set to find this information.
Right.
And the truth is, the whole do your own research was born out of the reality that the mainstream media has been lying to us, and big tech and social media have been blocking the truth, and that's why people have had to do their own research, and that violates our First Amendment.
Yeah. So let's just lay it out there. Is graphene oxide in these shots?
100% it is, and it's irrefutable, and I'll walk you through it. So what's really important to know is that all of the mRNA vaccines contain what's called a pegylated lipid nanoparticle, and that's what we're going to go through. So if you take a look at the Moderna patent, it says right there that this contains lipid nanoparticle formulation. And as you go through the patent, which I'll show you, they specifically talk about various ingredients and various pegylated formulations that have alphanumeric codes. And then you can also find them in the filings with the FDA, with the IND and phase 3 trials for both Moderna and Pfizer. And you can also find them, across the pond with the UK filings. I hope that's making sense so far.
Yeah, so far.
So here's the important thing about the patent. I read the patent. It's 193 pages plus attachments. And I read the patent to look for graphene oxide. It is not listed in the patent because it is a trade secret. So you remember Bill Gates saying that there was a trade secret?
Yes.
Trade secrets are not, purview to the public, so they cannot be in the patent. So graphene oxide is not listed in the patent, and it lists everything but that. But I'm still going to show you evidence that these contain graphene oxide, and the patent in China that shows they contain graphene oxide.
So let me just ask you, why would they put every other ingredient on the patent with the exception of the standalone graphene oxide? Why would they not put that on there?
I would say the number one reason is because it's poisonous to humans, and well known that it's poisonous to humans.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other reason is because it is the main ingredient in hydrogel, which is the liquid, AI template that's used for some of Elon Musk's, research and Bill Gates as far as
AI,
creating
artificial intelligence
between humans and, the internet.
So there is a legitimate theory that these shots are actually designed to create some sort of connectivity between humans, 5G, whatever this is, controlling your thoughts, your memories, all of these things. I mean, those are realistic and plausible possibilities.
That's not possible with this round. They rushed this thing out. They're just seeing, how much they can put into people before they die, I think, honestly.
So this is a dose-finding study, basically a live dose-finding study, and those that are dying or multiple sclerosis, Guillain-Barré, these tremors, the magnetism, all these things.
Well, remember, we're supposed to get boosters every 6 months, so we're going to get graphene oxide boosters every 6 months to see how much we can build up in the system. We'll go through this because when you see the nations that are being ejected, we're the guinea pigs, and so once they perfect this technology, I think there's a second plan. I actually am not super comfortable talking about this stuff because I don't like to give opinions on things, and hypothesize, so I'd rather just stick to the data, if that's okay. Yeah. So if you take a look at Chemical and Engineering News, there's these non-peer-reviewed journals, we call them rags in the industry. Every industry has it. And it's basically, the whales of the industry, the who's who, and they just kind of brag about what they're doing. So this article talks about the pegylated lipid nanoparticles that are in all the COVID-19 vaccines. And there's 4 lipids, and I'll go over this. So the first lipid is cholesterol. and that's our body loves cholesterol. It makes it go through the blood. Then there's a phospholipid. The phospholipid adheres to the cell membrane, so that allows permeability to enter the cell membrane. There's an ionizable lipid, so that gives it a positive ionic charge to help penetrate the mRNA to get into the cell. And then there's the pegylated lipid. And so the reason why they created these is because mRNA is very unstable, whether it's synthetic or zoonotic, which means it's from an animal, or human. It's very unstable. 80-degree weather kills it. Sunlight kills it. If you breathe on it, it dies. I mean, and the researchers all say this. It rarely gets past the nasopharynx area of any healthy individual. It's just, your saliva kills it. It cannot survive on its own. So it needed this kind of biosphere that they created for it. And that's why we have these four lipids, and then they put the graphene oxide. Now, what's interesting about the graphene oxide is that it's 4,000 times stronger than titanium and can withstand 1700 degree Fahrenheit temperature. So we took this very unstable virus, single helix virus, and we made it indestructible, or they made it indestructible. So the pegylated lipids, if you take a look, it's PEG, P-E-G. They're made by a company called Sinopeg, which is S-N-O-P-E-G, and they're located in China. Now, how did I find this out? Well, if you take a look at the Pfizer EUA filing, they list the 4 lipids. They have 2 lipids, each of which have 4 lipids in them in there. And so does Moderna. And Moderna's it's called a material safety data sheet. This is what they use in industrial products. And it has a CAS number, and theirs is SM102 for Moderna. And then if you go to Pfizer's filing with the UK, the 2 lipids that are in there are called ALC0315 and ALC0159. So when I Googled MSDS-CAS, don't ask how I know all this information, and I put in some of those numbers, I found Sinopeg. I didn't find Sinopeg by Googling Sinopeg. I literally put in the MSDS number. And so if you go to the website, you'll see the, extremely long, 100 alphanumeric name of each of these lipids, and you'll see it under a tab called COVID-19 excipients, and it says polyethylene glycol PEG 2000, right? And then here you'll see it's ALC0159, and this company is located in China. And then if you pull from the patent, from the Moderna patent, they list out all the different polyethylene glycol 200, PEG 200, PEG 2000, and you will find those listed under the COVID-19 excipients in Sinopeg. So it's right there. It's being manufactured in China. And so there's other vaccines that are mRNA vaccines that are not being sold in the United States. You can find those excipients here too, by the CAS number, the Material Safety Data Sheet CAS number. And so if you want to know what is graphene, what they explain here on Sinopeg is it is the core shell structured polyethylene glycol functionalized graphene for energy storage polymer dielectrics, combined mechanical and dielectric performances. So what that means is that graphene is a conductor. It can be a conductor of electricity. If it has a positive charge, and this is in some of the studies from the NIH and Moderna and stuff, if graphene gets a positive charge, it annihilates anything it comes in contact with. Right now, they're not charged, they're neutralized. You're like, well, how does it have a positive charge to get into the cell? That's that other lipid, that ionizable lipid that gives it the positive charge for cell penetration. But these currently are not, they're neutral. They have a neutral field. But if there is an electromagnetic field that activates a positive charge, potentially there will be damage and potentially death, depending on where these nanoparticles ended up in people's bodies and how much of them did.
That's not going to be enough still for many. But like I said, this is your kingdom. This is as good as it gets. So there's no there's nothing less, nothing more anybody can do to save any of those who deny the Most High. This is the definition of his power. So this is your kingdom. This is as good as it gets. For anybody that's ignored up to this point, all information detailing what they're dealing with and who they're dealing with. The Most High says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And people don't want to understand how somebody can be so evil. You've seen it all your generations. Don't ask why no more. It's time to get out the way if you care to save yourself. You know, even I've had family ask me, no, thinking with a conspiracy theory mind that I might have, why would people kill the population like that, and even their own kind, their fellow white man? You got to understand something. In the end times, when all the people that's been benefiting, Edomites, the Gentiles, the Ishmaelites, the Hamites, the Africans, the Moabites, every nation that's been over us, oppressing us as a people, the 12 tribes of Israel. Look what they've done to the Hispanics, the Mexicans, putting their kids in cages, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, us Negroes, the Native Indians, okay? All those other nations have systematically over generations been conditioned to benefit and hate us as a people, dislike us and show perpetual hatred. So imagine what they're gonna do, the peon of them, those who've been benefiting, not the elites who set up this whole evil construct and beneficial structure. The peon of them, do you know they're gonna turn on their government to know that they set them up to go against God, against their will? Because if they'd known, had some clue of who we were and the children of Israel, and they were doing so much destruction to us and laughing and mocking us all the day long while benefiting, they would have pumped their brakes and they wouldn't have done what they've done to us. Even out of ignorance, they would have had some caution. So the average redneck Joe, they not built for war, and they definitely don't want to go up against a God who destroys and would destroy them and their children and their families in front of them. To be given that option to understand that, they're going to turn on this government. So yeah, they're going to poison everybody, put this COVID-19 bullshit in them, COVID-19, whereas you use the alphabetical form of 1 and 9 and turn it into alphabetical. The first alphabet is A. First alphabet is A. The ninth alphabet is I, artificial intelligence. They're playing on your ignorance because they know we're not smart enough to get it, because we're following them and trusting in them.
Be honest with yourself, man. I think that's the most important. Being honest with yourself, because we could lie all day. Anybody could lie all day long, right? But ultimately, you gotta be honest with yourself at the end of the day. And that's what's gonna help you change. That's what's gonna get you to go to the next level, is you being real with you. Okay, now if you deceive, you just deceive. Okay, and like the Most High said, you know, the life of a fool is worse than death. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. The Most High said, the life of a fool is worse than death. Okay, so if you deceive, you deceive.
Was released, a secret file was uploaded to my data stream. It was a recording of a meeting of the Umbrella High Command, dated 17 months before the viral outbreak occurred.
We are here today
not just to talk about the future of this company. We're here to talk about its destiny. We're here to talk about the end of the world.
Open our windows at all because, mice have been known to chew through the gauze and get into the house. Like they're just looking for somewhere warm now as well.
We want to remind everybody that mice do feel pain and fear. So if they must be killed, it's really only the most ethical and right thing to do it as quickly and as painlessly as possible, not through these gut-wrenching poisons that cause internal bleeding and really gruesome, long, slow death.
Will we end with it?
What do you propose?
I propose that we end the world, but on our terms. An orchestrated apocalypse. One that will cleanse the Earth of its population but leave its infrastructure and resources intact.
The unrest on the streets of Haiti's capital has largely subsided, though tensions remain high. Outside the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince, a crowd gathered, with many saying they seek to flee the country in anticipation of a worsening political crisis.
We're all here since last night. It's a normal thing to do to try to get out of the country since our president was assassinated.
The death of President Moïse at the hands of foreign mercenaries left the country in shock. On Friday evening, the Haitian Senate named Joseph Lambert as the country's interim president.
Well, they are demonstrations not seen in decades. Thousands of Cubans taking to the streets day after day, pleading with their communist government to save their lives. The island is in a deep economic crisis that has caused critical food shortages with hours-long lines for what little is left. They say there's no medicine, no COVID vaccine distribution, and little power thanks to rolling blackouts in triple-digit heat. Protests, especially ones this big, are rare in Cuba. The government keeps tight control over all aspects of life. Defiance and dissent not tolerated. Historically, internet access is only for the chosen few. It was becoming more widespread, but now it's hard to come by. Authorities are blocking social media sites and restricting access in an apparent effort to stop the flow of information into and out of the country.
People of African descent go back hundreds of years in Mexico, but as a group, Afro-Mexicans are largely invisible. A 2015 census is changing that. CCTV's Frank Contreras has insight from Mexico's southern state of Oaxaca.
Among Afro-Mexican communities here on the Pacific coast of Mexico's Oaxaca state, this dance is symbolic. Locals say the devils represent the growing power of African descendants in this part of Latin America. It's a history that's beginning to gain global attention. The presence of Africa here in Oaxaca state is one of the lesser-known aspects of the vast cultural diversity in this region, one of the most culturally diverse in all of Latin America. Last year, for the first time, the government conducted an interim census asking Mexicans, based on your culture, history, and traditions, do you consider yourself black, meaning Afro-Mexican or Afro-descendant? And nearly 1.4 million people responded, yes. Afro-Mexican communities exist here in Oaxaca state's Costa Chica region, the neighboring state of Guerrero, and Veracruz state, among others. An Afro-Mexican leader from Pinotepa Nacional says, as a nation, Mexico is much more than just a mixture of Spanish and indigenous people.
We believe that the whole world should know that in the colonial era, Mexico was an entry point for African slaves. Our ancestors were forcibly brought here under slavery.
But images of African descendants in Mexico rarely appear in public. The exception is this famous comic book character, Memín Pinguín, which was created in the 1940s. Nicomedes Ramirez and her cousin, Castula Silva, grew up in these impoverished coastal communities. Ramirez says over the years, politicians have come with their electioneer promises to end poverty.
They told us they would help, and they would bring us basic things we were lacking. All we had to do was ask, but so far, they have done nothing for us.
Most High wrote the book of Obadiah, dedicated to Esau Edom, the so-called white man, for his evil. Because when he gave them dominion of this earth over us to rule and punish us, they exceeded the threshold. But they also did no good whatsoever with that power and authority. All they sought was to destroy God's people. We were scattered to all four corners of the earth. That's why they're doing census, to try to track and find out who are the children of Israel, basically where they're located in large populations, and seek to give out so-called stimulus money, anything to identify us, to get us. It's like drawing a rat out of a hole, because we've been so low. So they're going to use all these programs and everything to get you to take favor to them, thinking that they're doing something good for you. They've done no good, and that's why the Most High said He's going to destroy them off the face of the earth. Now there's going to be a remnant of Edomites, Gentile, good people of other nationalities, other nations, that He's going to save, because those who bless Israel, those who bless us, shall be blessed. But they will not exist anymore as a nation to have that authority and power. This is why we weren't allowed to read as slaves. This is why they get you to come out of the original testament, the Torah. This is why they give you a New Testament with a new God who saves or destroys nothing. There's no prophets writing in the New Testament at all.
Obadiah. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen.
Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle.
Behold, I have made these...
And let me back this up and start that over and let you understand something. We are the 12 tribes of Israel, which this world ignorantly knows as nationalities. We're all from the seeds of Jacob. Our forefathers are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Gentiles' forefather, the Edomites, shall I say, their forefather is Esau, Edom. This is all in Scripture. So pay attention to what he says is up next in Obadiah.
Obadiah. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen.
Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle.
Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end, that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it.
Get a little bit more detail for you. Sometimes we need it. Sometimes we need a little push, even at the last stop. Psalms 83. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate that thee, let me say that again. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, and that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, and the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Edom are your Edomites, your so-called white people. Ishmaelites are the Arabs. Moab, the Asians. And Tyre is the Africans. Due to the curses, it said we would lose our identity and be identified by a byword, meaning those over us gave us our names. Puerto Ricans are called Puerto Ricans because they're from the port of riches, when those who colonialized them realized all the riches they had around them, their wealth, and over generations of being oppressed and colonialized, enslaved, we took on names that they gave us. So those heathens, you're not curious how they know exactly who they are? Let them tell you.
Dr. Shabir, when I look at the story of Ishmael, I see that Ishmael is given a very prominent place in the Quran and a not so prominent place in the Bible. You know, so tell me about Ishmael, how he's viewed in the two traditions.
Yeah, in the Quran, Ishmael is not mentioned by name so often. The son of Abraham is mentioned, and Ishmael is thought to be the son that is mentioned in the story of the sacrifice. Elsewhere, he is mentioned by name. For example, in the 19th chapter of the Quran, where God shows that he was a righteous person, and God gave him prayer and charity, and he commanded his progeny to do the same. In the Bible, the stories are told more extensively about all of the prophets, and the Quran only needs to refer to those stories allusively to bring out the lessons that could be brought out from these stories following the Quranic line of thought. But even in the Bible, the story of Ishmael, compared with others around him, seems to be diminished, especially in comparison with his brother Isaac. which is a curious phenomenon because Ishmael was the firstborn son of Abraham, according to the biblical narrative itself. And so you would expect him to have a greater prominence, but he doesn't. The prominence shifts to Isaac, who comes to be known as the ancestor of the Israelite nation, and so you would expect him to have a greater prominence, but he doesn't. The prominence shifts to Isaac, who comes to be known as the ancestor of the Israelite nation, and Ishmael, by comparison, is said to be a great person, and that he will have many descendants. But he will also be a wild donkey of a man whose hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him.
And in contrast, in the Quran, Ishmael in the Islamic tradition is seen as sort of the ancestor, right? The ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims, many Arabs.
So in Islamic tradition, Ishmael,
ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims, many Arabs.
So in Islamic tradition, Ishmael gets a large mention.
Yes.
And Isaac not so much mentioned. So as if the Islamic tradition in a way counterbalances and fits nicely in with the Judeo-Christian tradition, showing the prominence that both sons should have. Which is a curious phenomenon because Ishmael was the firstborn son of Abraham, according to the biblical narrative itself. And so you would expect him to have a greater prominence, but he doesn't. The prominence shifts to Isaac, who comes to be known as the ancestor of the Israelite nation.
The Most High God of Israel, one who creates and destroys, and made us his chosen people. It is what it is. And like I said, if the scriptures don't do it for you, what you've witnessed in this world as a testament, don't do it for you, this is your kingdom because you expect for them to finally do right. We've been marching since the 40s and 50s. Man, I've seen enough. I've been through enough. I'm preparing myself for the kingdom to come. He'll make it comfortable for you. The Most High will make this kingdom comfortable for you as long as you pay attention. Because there's destruction coming, but he's going to protect us the same way he protected us when he split the Red Sea and saved us from Pharaoh. You got to believe in him and not in these heathens. They cannot do nothing for you. The people of Egypt, when the Most High destroyed them, Pharaoh could not protect them. So if you want to make Egypt great again, keep trying to push that narrative and believing in these heathens. Like I say, this ain't to say hate anybody. I'm telling you to love yourself and love your God and recognize and honor his power. It's the ultimate. And if you think loving and ignoring it's going to bring you some kind of in-game peace, just like in the days of Noah, you're going to be sadly awakened to understanding with no benefit. I do these sharings, like I said, I'm not a preacher, prophet, teacher. I'm simply sharing. And I love my people, man. And I've always had questions of why I lived the way I lived, why I came from where I came from, why was I born into these conditions, and witnessing all of this is a testament to his power. This was a punishment, as Deuteronomy 28 detailed, for our forefathers' iniquities and going against them. The seeds were punished. Now, like I say, you can hate who you are, whatever. Don't take that up. But you've been given an opportunity. The Most High has given you a path to understand and to seek him. At the end of the day, that's all it is. I'm going to get rolling though. Got to get my pre-trip started. And I'll keep you all posted. All praise to the Most High. Just understand, the Most High God that creates, the only God. He must got something for you if you're paying attention. And if you hear denying or hear just to observe what we are doing and ain't seeking to understand, you jump into the head of the fire when that flame comes. Don't play with the Most High. I've had enough smoke from him in my journey, in my testament, and I don't want to invite no evil from him. So if that's what you're doing, carry on. Your bag of coal. All praise to the Most High. Love y'all, Israel. Shalom. Because it's hot and ready.